tips for engaging students in online English language learning. So you will see here in this infographic that here are the dozen tips. Today, we are going to go over tips 1 through 6. Teach differently, engage students in multiple ways, re-examine your exams, focus on feedback, provide engaging videos, and be crystal clear. And then in the next webinar, we will go over tips 7, 8, and 9. And then in the last one, we will be going over tips 10, 11, and 12. And then you'll see there's a bonus tip 13, making it what we call a baker's dozen. Okay, so the first webinar we're calling Engaging Students in Meaningful Learning Activities. And so that's what we're going to focus on. Again, these are tips 1 through 6. Before we begin, we would love to know a little bit about you. And so we have 2 polls. First poll, complete the sentence. I teach learners in elementary school, middle school, high school, university, or other. Let's see. Wow, it's about even. And the second poll is, I am currently teaching my students online. Yes, I'm an online teacher. Yes, but only because coronavirus closed my school, which would be like me. No, but I anticipate I will. Okay, so in terms of learners, wow, you can see we have a whole mix here with us today. And in terms of teaching students online, yes, we see that the majority of people here are here because coronavirus has closed your school. So you are looking for some new ideas for engaging your students online. And so I believe you've come to the right place. All right. Well, now I'd like my colleague, Dr. Borup, to take it away.
Hi, everyone. It was fantastic kind of watching the chat box where all of you are from. And all of those places are on my list of places I'd love to visit. I've been trying to monitor what's going on around the world, and I see these amazing tributes of in Italy, people singing from their balconies, and in Spain, of people applauding at 8 o'clock for the workers, and just all these bits of humanity and community. And so it's great during this time that we can all get together from around the world here. I was reading some articles about what was going on in China a few weeks ago. And here's an article of someone said that, well, my school tried online teaching years ago. We haven't done it at this scale before. So I think this is clear from that survey that maybe there's been a little bit of online teaching before, but nothing at this scale. And there's no choice, right? I mean, whether you are interested in online learning or not, it doesn't really matter. You need to do it. But you might find some benefits to this. I was speaking to one instructor who actually had a discussion with his students about what are you grateful for during this time? And this person said, you know, I have more freedom at home. They like being home for a while. I know that can get difficult as well. But at the same time, there's a student that said that it's easy to zone out when you're not around other students and classmates. And so we know that's a common problem. This was my favorite. This mother, she deserves a medal. She went above and beyond. She installed a surveillance camera in the home to observe her 12-year-old son while she was away working. And sometimes she would check up on him and see what he was doing. And you'll see that he was caught doing anything but studying, napping during the live streaming lessons. And even when he tried to watch the live streaming lessons, the internet connection was so shoddy that that it was hard to follow along. So we know that there are challenges to teaching online. So I'd like to hear your challenges. So we have another poll about what do you find most challenging about teaching online? Good. So coming up with fun activities for engagement. I feel like we're all comfortable doing that face to face. We have lots of practice. But how does that translate to the online environment? That can be quite challenging. Keeping students' attention. So maybe you have students like we just mentioned, the 12-year-old who it's easy for them to be unengaged during these live lessons. Hopefully everyone here is engaged. Managing a large class, yeah, that can be a challenge as well, especially online. Well, I think the consensus here, I know that people are still voting, but I think it's over 60% is coming up with fun engagement activities. And so that's actually what we're going to be speaking today. So you guys were correct with that. We'll be speaking of some of the other things as well. Let's start with a little video clip. It's probably, it's not in English and probably not in your language, but that's okay. What I want you to focus on is it's a daughter and a father. The daughter just purchased her father a gift, and she's asking how he likes it.
Mit dem neuen iPad zurecht, was wir dir zum Geburtstag geschenkt haben?
Gut.
Mit den ganzen Apps kommst du klar?
Was denn für Apps? Geh mal bitte ein Stück zur Seite. So.
So I love the look on her face, right? She spent all this money, gave him an iPad, and he used it, so that's good. He was using the technology. He was probably enjoying it. It seemed like he really liked the iPad. So it was probably better than his previous cutting board. So he saw some advantages to that. But was he using the iPad to his advantage, to the most potential that it could have for him? And the answer is clearly no, obviously not. And I think oftentimes we're using online learning in good ways, but maybe not at the potential that it could be used. And so that's really what we want to focus on, is how can we leverage online learning to really engage our students. Excuse me. When teachers use technology, they can use it to replace, amplify, or transform their teaching. So an example of replacing. So let's say you had a student write something down. You can replace that by having them type something up. So it's essentially the same thing, but digital. Maybe there's some small advantages. Maybe it's a little easier to read, or the spelling is better, but it's essentially the same thing. The other thing is you might amplify that assignment by having them write a blog. And on that blog, they could have images and videos. They can share it with other people. So it's not the same assignment, but it's still very similar with some key advantages. So you can amplify what you do with technology. Another thing that you can do is actually transform what you do. So here's an example of a student that made a puppet show. And you can see that it was a rap battle puppet show. And I have to say, it's fantastic. So they had a green screen and a camera. And now, instead of writing an essay, they probably wrote down the rap battle, right? So they were learning, they were writing. But the assignment, what they created, was completely different from an essay. So they use technology to transform it. Tip number 2 is to engage students in multiple ways. We can use technology in a way that is passive. So for instance, watching a video is passive. You can put your feet up, you don't have to do anything. It can still be interesting and engaging, but it's a passive type of engagement. Or it can be interactive. So for instance, right now you're writing in the chat, you're interacting, and that can be fun. You're communicating, making comments. All those things are interactive in an online environment, but also sometimes the content will adapt to you. So if you're playing a game or a simulation, all those are interactive ways to engage with technology. The C of PIC is for creative. Are you allowing your students to create things? This can be extremely powerful for them to interact with the technology in a way that allows them to be creative, to create new, novel things, to learn and to demonstrate their learning. So if you take the pick and the rat and you put them together, what you'll see is the pick-rat model. So Royce Kimmons, they have a book chapter here on that I recommend looking at. But you'll see, let me get my pointer. You see that down here is the rat and then the pick, and then you can actually place activities along these two variables. So here we have PR. So this is using technology in a way that's passive and replaces something. So for instance, this webinar is down here, right? It's passive for the most part. Some of you are interacting, and it's replacing what we do if we could all be together. So this can be really valuable, but at the same time, when we're working with our students, we want to move up to allowing them to be creative in ways that amplify and transform our teaching and their learning. So Joan will share some examples.
Hi everyone, I'm back. Hopefully you can still hear me. And here's an example that connects to what Dr. Borup just talked about. So you might have an activity perhaps even in your own textbook. So for example, I'll take this example from our world. You have a unit about exciting sports. Okay, and so perhaps you have students do activities where they're learning about different sports, and then as you can see here on this slide, you might have a project at the end to be able to assess whether or not students have learned all of the language in this unit about exciting sports. And so in this particular project, students are asked to, as you see here, what this girl has done is to create a brochure, but perhaps you want them to be a bit more creative and amplify this activity, and you are also in an online environment. So of course you might have a student create a brochure, take a picture of it and send it to you, or you can amplify it by having the student create a web page with the same information, or a blog, or even an electronic flyer instead of simply doing it with paper and with pictures in a hard copy. So that's one way to think about that. In addition to that, you might want to encourage your students who have access to more technology. Maybe they like to make videos, and you want to allow for creative work by students that of course still meets your learning objectives, but gets them to transform this in a way. And let's take a look at this video so you can see two students. They're 12 years old. They're from Greece. They created a video along with this unit instead of the brochure or the web page. Here we go.
Highlining by Amalia and Cristiana. Highlining is an extreme sport. People walk across the rope tens of meters above the ground or the water. People can do it all year round. In winter, in spring, in summer, or in autumn. Highlining is a very dangerous sport, and only people with experience and many skills can do it. To do it, you need a main line of webbing, backup webbing, either climbing or obstacle rope. Now, one joke. If you fall, then the only way to survive is God. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so did you like the video? If you weren't able to see it, that's okay. You can see there's a QR code there as well as a link. And we've highlighted this video thanks to Anastasia Metanilou from Greece of her students who created this video. Oh, great. So a lot of you were able to see it. All right, so this is an example of transforming it. You can take it off the page of your book and get your students to be even more creative and start to learn some technology tools. In this case, and if you go to the link, which we can put in the chat box, and you see the video, you'll also see it was created with a software called Beyond, which is an online video editing software. All right. Now, tip number 3, re-examine your exams. All right, so maybe you're thinking about how am I going to assess my learners, and perhaps you give a test, paper-based test. You have a little activity. Students either do multiple choice, fill in the blank, they turn in the paper to you, and maybe you're thinking, how am I going to assess my learners' language in this online environment? Well, you first should start to think about it, take a step back from the beginning, right? So here you see an infographic with learning outcomes, assessments, and then activities. So something that you might want to think about is when you're developing your lessons for an online environment, you, like any lesson, you start with your learning objective, and then you determine what you want students to be able to do by the end of the lesson. So in other words, what learning outcomes are you going to expect your students to achieve by the end of a lesson or unit? Then it's important for you to think about how are you going to assess this learning outcome. Then you start to think about, you kind of go backwards, then you start to think about what activities will lead you toward achieving that outcome. So perhaps you're using a book, a textbook. Sure, you might be using a textbook series, and these have been somewhat developed for you, but that doesn't mean you cannot amplify or transform any of these activities for the online environment. So you got to think about how you're going to engage your students, right? In in-person tests, maybe you have something that, you're monitoring your students, right? So that they don't have a little cheat sheet in their hand and cheat on it. So you might be thinking, well, what can I do to assess language learning when I can't be sitting there monitoring whether or not they perhaps might be cheating on a particular test or quiz you have. So let's start with an example, okay? So let's say you're doing this unit about awesome animals. And you can see here that there's a learning outcome. Again, it's in the book. I'll read it because it might be small. In this unit, I will, stated in the student's point of view, name animals, describe animals, talk about what animals can and can't do. Okay, so students can easily do the activities in the book, right, to learn all of this and show their comprehension, and maybe you've determined that this is how you're going to assess your learners with this project, to create an animal card. Now maybe this was the original activity in your face-to-face class. right? This is your final assessment. So students were going to step by step choose an animal, right? And then they do research on that animal. Okay. And then they get pictures of it, create this animal card, and then they write complete sentences about the animal to show that they can name an animal, describe it, and talk about what they can and can't do. Well, in the online environment, perhaps you can transform this and make this more exciting for them. And I'm going to suggest you use software. It's called Chatter Pics. And let's actually take a look at an example. Okay? And when we look at the example, I want you to remember, and you should think about this in your assessments, what type of rubric are you going to use to assess your students? In this case, look at the video, see if the students did research on the animal, used pictures, described their animals, and wrote incomplete sentences. All right, let's take a look at this example from Chatter Pics. Then I'll show you how to use it. Here we go.
A frog is a amphibian. It is covered with skin. A frog eats bugs. Frogs live in ground. I like that frogs can be poisonous. An iguana is a reptile. It is covered with scaly skin. An iguana eats plants. And iguanas live in hot places. I like iguanas.
All right. How did you like those Chatter Pics? First, I saw that some of you liked the picture that the student drew, and then the student actually put a mouth on it. Let me show you how it works, okay? So if you wanted to get Chatter Pics, you can put it right here on your phone. Okay. This is what. All right, so what you do is, as you can see here, you can take a photo. Okay, so I'm going to actually just take a photo right here, okay, from the cover of this book. Okay, so you'll see here, I'll take a photo. Okay, now, here's the photo. So you could take a photo of a student's drawing, or you could take any image and put it in here. It can take photos from your photo app on your phone. And then I'm going to draw the line to make a mouth. Okay, so you can see here I drew a line over the frog's mouth. And then I'm going to record. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to meet you. Okay, and you want to hear what it sounds like? Okay, so it's that easy to make a Chatter Pics. I know my kids love it, and you can do this. Oh, great, you love this. Yeah, you can do this at a lot of different ages, actually. So maybe you could take a picture of a famous person. Okay, maybe you're doing something in history. So you take someone like Nelson Mandela and you put in the line and you give a speech. Okay, so there's all kinds of ways you can use it for all different learners, and I hope you like that. Now, can you still assess students using this rubric that you have to actually assess the project, the animal card? Why not? Okay, let's take a look at two examples. Maybe you have your students make the animal card. Maybe parents will help, or they can create a report or a poster if they're older students doing like a poster about something more advanced. Then you could take a picture with your poster, put the line on your mouth for Chatter Pics, and then present that, and you post it online. Here you go. Let's take a look at this girl. It was from the example, but you could use it to show an example. Okay, here, let's try it.
Penguins are my favorite bird. They have black and white
Seems
feathers.
like it's not
They live in ice
working.
and
That's
snow.
okay.
They can swim, but they can't fly.
I've probably saved it on my phone and can show it to you. Oh, it works. Great. Excellent. And now take a look at number 2, which is the penguin.
I am a penguin. I have black feathers and black and white feathers. I live in the ice and snow. I can swim, but I can't fly.
All right. So you see there's 2 different ways. Take a picture of the student, him or herself, and have the student draw a line and record their voice with the report. Or, in this case, why not transform it a little? Have the students find a picture of the animal and do it from the animal point of view in the first person. Okay, so now let's say you want to give feedback. So your students have posted all of their Chatter Pics videos online. Then you want to make sure you give feedback right away. So good feedback is, of course, timely. So you want to make sure you're giving this feedback right away so you can give your students some feedback on their language. Of course, you want to keep it friendly and make sure it's encouraging them to keep interacting online, but it's got to be also specific so that they know what they have done well and perhaps some improvements that could be made. So here's another example. So let's say your student posted the Chatter Pics with the report. So this is for Carla. And you have the rubric there, right? Did students do research? So you give the specific feedback. Excellent research on penguins with a little smiley face emoji. Excellent pictures of penguins, another emoji. Excellent descriptions, another one. And then a nice smiley emoji, good sentences about penguins, but maybe you want to give a little feedback and just mention you might want to add a comma here to make it perfect. Okay, so timely feedback, but also specific feedback, and keep it encouraging so that they'll want to keep coming back and engaging with you more online. Okay, now, great idea, of course, is to use videos, which students can watch with you when you're online, like this, or sending videos for them to watch while they're at home before they come and interact with you. Now, when you're selecting videos, because there are tons of videos online, I thought it would be helpful if I could give you a little guide for selecting videos. So always remember cameos, okay? Say that out loud once. Cameos. Okay. So first, in cameos is C, comprehensible. When you find a video online, ask yourself, is the language comprehensible for my students? Also, is it age appropriate? Okay, that's the A. Is the content appropriate? But also, think about M. Is it meaningful to your students? But also, is language used in a meaningful context in that video? The language that you're trying to teach your students, that is, for that lesson. Also, E, is it engaging? Is it engaging and interesting for your students? That could be related to age, but it could be also related to their own interests, right? Maybe you want to take a survey and find out what are the things that your students like to watch videos about, and then try to find videos that are connected to that. Surveying students, always a good idea. Oh, objectives. Is this video aligned with your learning objectives? And the last one, very important, supportive. Does this video support students' comprehension of the language? So are there useful visuals in this video that will help them understand the language better? Are there maybe text or subtitles they can also use? Okay, so if it has cameos, then probably it's going to be a good video to use with your students. All right, let's take an example. Here's a video, and I want you to look at it, watch it, and decide whether or not you think that there are cameos in it. All right, let's see this first video.
Air is in the sun. Why is it hot? It's hot because it has fur. Ah, that's better. It's a baby elephant. Why is it wet? It's wet because it's taking a shower. This penguin is cold. Why is it cold? It's cold because it's on ice. Ah, that's better.
Okay, so that's a little grammar video from our world. Does it have cameos? Okay, so obviously this is geared towards younger learners. Is it comprehensible? I think so. Age appropriate? Yes. Is it in a meaningful context? Some little context to be able to show through animation the meaning of the grammar. Was it engaging for your students? If they're young, probably yes. Of course, it's connected directly with the objectives of a particular unit, and they had text support and visual support to show the meaning of the language. Now, I chose this video as one example, one of two, because this one is geared toward a specific grammar point, a particular language focus. So you might choose a video because it's directly connected to the language you're trying to teach in your particular unit. But you might also be searching for an authentic video that is something that shows language in a context that is more authentic and real. So I'm going to show you another video, and I want you to just watch a video and practice and tell us if you think this has cameos for your learners. So in the chat box you might say, I teach teenagers, this has cameos and why, just so we can see if you can practice using cameos. All right, here we go. Let's see part of this video.
Elephants are like humans. If you love them, they will love you too. The elephants are here because they don't have their mothers. Their mothers have been killed by people. Others have been died because of no food, enough food for them. Others because of diseases. Elephants, they love each other. Yeah, they are like us. Like our elephants here, they are not from the same area. They are from the whole country. But when they come here, they make friends. We take the elephants to the bush. We stay with them because we have to feed them every 3 hours, day and night. Because the elephants, when they come here, they don't have their mothers, and we have to do the work that their mothers do. We have to sleep with them, because when we leave them alone, they cry.
All right. Excellent. So I was following along in the chat box, and I could see that some of you who said you teach older students, teenagers and university students, could use this video. So perhaps in terms of the A in cameos, appropriate for older students. I also saw some people saying that subtitles would have been helpful, so that S part. Now, if you find that the video has the C, the A, the M, the E, the O, but not the S, what can you do as a teacher? Yes, you could prepare the S. Maybe you can make sure the subtitles are put on, or maybe you can create a worksheet, a guide for the video. Or what else could you do? Maybe you could, you could actually warm up, give them the keywords for the video. Excellent. All right, so Cameos is just a tool to help you choose the right videos for your students. And always remember, if you're missing the S, maybe you can still use a video with your students, just you provide the support. And we'll be talking more about some of these things in the next videos as well. Okay, we have another poll, and I'm going to hand this over to my colleague.
Thank you. So another thing that you can do is actually create a video. So let's do a poll. I'm curious, have you ever created a video for your students to watch later? So the last time we did this, it was about 50-50, but here so far it looks like almost 3 out of 4 of you have not. So that's really interesting. If you have created a video and you'd like to share it, please post it in the chat box. Well, if you haven't, that's fine. Oftentimes we feel like this is the type of video we need to create. So I've worked with Joan to create videos where we have a green screen, we have perfect lighting, we have a teleprompter and mics and all of these amazing technologies that can be really powerful. You can create amazing videos, but in the end, sometimes you don't need to do all of those things. It's nice because you can have text in the background, or you can have moving images, or you can have background music, all of these wonderful bells and whistles. But in the end, maybe you don't have a studio. I'm guessing you don't have a studio at home, or certainly not access to a studio now. And that's okay. You don't need a studio to make quality videos to have Cameo. So for instance, this is how I make my videos. Not at the production quality of having an entire studio, but if I just have a cell phone or a webcam, I can make pretty good videos for my students that has Cameos. I'm going to play some videos for you. This is a multiple choice. Maybe we can put the poll up after. But A, B, C, or D, which video do you find the most engaging?
Begin our examination of all the tenses by first looking at the present tense. There are 4 present tenses, and we'll begin with the present simple tense. It's the
key to fluent English that most students do to advanced. Level 1 is thinking in individual English words. For example, when you wake up in the morning, think of words like
So noun is right. So Germany is a specific country. So all these words sort of fit the criteria where this name, either Raman or the Godfather, Mumbai or Germany, is
age and occupation for 11 years already. I have an experience teaching both individually and in groups. I have had students from Ukraine, Russia, Egypt, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and India so far. Okay, so we saw
4 different types of videos. These are all videos created just with a laptop or a camera that you probably all have access to. Which do you find the most engaging? A was the whiteboard. B was the PowerPoint narration. C was kind of the digital ink, and D was webcam. So go ahead and vote here. Interesting. Again, it seems like there's a very clear winner. Showing yourself, right? Oftentimes when we create videos, we feel kind of nervous about showing ourselves. And so we might do a voice narration or something like that. But research actually supports the need to show yourself in the videos. It can be really powerful for students. So this is a really helpful research study that looked at hundreds of thousands of views of videos in massive open online courses. So these are older students with probably longer attention span than children. But one thing that you notice is many of them stopped watching around 6 minutes. And then a lot of them stopped watching around 10 minutes. So we learned that these videos should only be 6 to 10 minutes long at the most. Anything beyond that, you can just assume that many of your students won't watch. The idea of combining video of the instructor with slides is powerful. If it's only slides, it's much less engaging for students. Also, showing students showing the instructor in personal settings. So we saw that. You guys voted for D, really because it was personable, right? You could see the instructor. She was in her home, so that can be really powerful as well. And right now, that's all you have available to you for many of you, right? And embrace it. It's fine. You don't have to be in front of a whiteboard or anything like that. You can just make really quality videos from home. Also, showing the instructor writing or drawing can be really powerful. My daughters watched a webinar, they're 8 and 4, of Mo Williams, the children author. And he was just there drawing on paper. So it doesn't even have to be on digital ink. But anything like that, writing or drawing, can be really, really powerful for students. But also, you need to be excited about what you're doing. So oftentimes we are in a room by ourselves, but we can't think that way. We have to remember that we are creating videos for our students, and remember that they will be watching it and we're speaking to them. You can also create screen recordings really easily. So for instance, Screencast-O-Matic is a free tool that allows you to create videos up to 15 minutes long, which we know is probably too long. So you have plenty of time with Screencast-O-Matic. Loom is also a new tool. If you use either one of these tools, or you have another tool that you use to record your screen, go ahead and add a link in the chat box. So it looks like some Loom users here. That's great. These QR codes will also take you to those if you want to explore those different websites. So I was thinking, if you have a tablet, sometimes it's really easy to do this digital ink. Depending on what you have, you can also buy like a bamboo tablet, but that costs money. Maybe it's difficult to access. So I was thinking, what could I do just from home with what I have available during this time? And so what I did is I stacked up some books. I took a bookend, and I held my phone on those books with the bookend, and I hit record, and I could record everything that I was writing on the paper. So you can be really creative. Use what you have available to you during this time, and then you can really create some powerful videos. The other thing is, it can be really frustrating, as you see from this instructor here. You create all this time making these videos, and then students don't watch them. Or they start asking you questions that you answer in the videos. And so one thing is, you have to tell students what they should be learning, what they should be looking for, and what they should be doing during the video. So remember PIC, passive, interactive, creative, PIC. Passive is just watching the video, but you can also make them interactive. Have them do something while they're watching the video, and it can be a more engaging activity for them. It can be something as simple as having them fill out a form, asking them write 3 sentences of things that you learned from that video. So that's a really simple way of doing it. And then they can submit it to you in a survey or a form. Another tool that's kind of fun is EdPuzzle. I wonder if anyone has used EdPuzzle before. But what EdPuzzle does is it lets you upload a video or connect with a video, and then you can put on the playlist different questions. So when the video gets to that point in the it'll stop playing the video, and then it'll ask a question off to the side, and then students need to answer those questions before they move on. Okay, tip number 6 is we have to be crystal clear. So just imagine in a face-to-face class, excuse me, you give directions, and within seconds, you know that students need more directions. So you stop them, you give them more direction, you answer questions, and then they can move on. That's not always possible in an online environment. Oftentimes it's not. And so students can get really confused. So let's use an example here. Who has ever participated in a trust fall? Trust falls are pretty simple. You just fall back and someone catches you, right? So you probably don't need a lot of direction for that, or you'd assume. Let's watch a short video. So simple, right? Just fall back, you catch her. But the second one, let's watch that second one more time. Pretty simple. So what went wrong on that second video? So if you watch this video, the sister is telling her sister, you know, all you have to do is close your eyes, fall, and I will catch you. The problem is she gave that direction when she was standing by her shoulder. So when she closed her eyes, she did exactly what she said and then fell, but she didn't know where her sister was going to be, and she fell flat on her face. So oftentimes we do that metaphorically with our students. We don't give them enough direction, and then they fall flat on their face. And oftentimes we don't realize it until they start submitting their assignments. So they may have spent a week on an assignment that we spent a lot of time preparing, and we thought that the directions were crystal clear, but in the end they weren't, and it's kind of a failure. So we have some advice on how to make sure that your assignments are crystal clear and that your students aren't going to be falling on their face. One thing is go step by step. So this is a hyperdoc. It's called the hyperdoc because it has hyperlinks within. And those hyperlinks are going to different resources, more detailed directions.
Hi, I'm back again.
Step by step. This is
so,
what you should be doing here.
Of course, we know, very important, to break your instructions down into smaller steps. Okay, making sure that each step is achievable for all students. Another tip for making sure you're crystal clear, and I love the idea of recording a model, but you can also include visuals step by step so that students can see what you're expecting them to do in each of these smaller achievable steps. And then, of course, always provide an example of a final product. Now, this is, of course, an example of an activity that is in person. Let's take a look at what you might do with an activity that you're going from a face-to-face class, you have an assignment, and then you're going into the online environment. environment. Okay, so here's a great example of an activity for lots of different ages. A book review. Students are going to have a lot of time at home, so they can read a book, and then, great independent activity, they can write a book review. So of course, make sure you give explicit instructions for the genre. You might give an example that you can see here, a sample book review, and have students do a reading activity to notice the words and the expressions needed for the review to share an opinion. And then the students will post their written review online with a video or an audio recording. So instead of them sharing in class with each other, you're going to have them post it, and perhaps you could post it depending on what you're using for your online instruction. You could even create a chat group like WeChat, like I actually used WhatsApp. How many of you use WhatsApp? You can create a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, WeChat group, whatever you use. Then students will post their writing. In this case, I just took a picture of what I wrote for the book review. Okay, and remember, be crystal clear. You're going to give a model. So don't just say post it. You post an example with the book, and then in that chat group, you can just audio record. You click on the microphone and then read it. All right, let's hear what this book review sounds like. Okay,
This wonderful
as I
book is
posted
called
it in
Cliffhanger.
WhatsApp.
It's by Jacqueline Wilson. In my opinion, she is one of the best writers in the world. Cliffhanger is about a boy called Tim. He likes TV shows and puzzles. He's very smart, and he's the best student in most school subjects. But he's the worst student at sports. When Tim's parents send him to a sports camp, he's unhappy. He hates sports. Then one day, he has a smart idea on how to win the game, and he helps his team win. After that, he's the most popular person at camp. He doesn't want to leave. I love this book. I think Jacqueline Wilson helps us remember some important things. First, we're all different. Second, you shouldn't feel bad if you're not handsome.
All right, that's a good message for all of us. Keep trying. So these are our tips, and I hope that you found some useful ideas that you can use in your classroom. We just went through tips 1 through 6, and we're planning next week to have another webinar to go through the next set of tips. So, do you have any questions?
And if you have questions, please feel free to type them into the chat. We have a few minutes. If you want to stay, we could probably extend a few minutes as well. So please feel free to type any questions into the chat.
Okay, I did want to mention, in case the chat box flew by, we will have this recording of the webinar posted, and Jared and I also wrote a blog post about all of these tips, and we will also have links to the videos. You'll be able to hear the audio in case you weren't able to hear it, and so we know that sometimes not everyone can see the videos or hear the audio recordings, and so you can go back
We got a
to
question
the
about
recording
how important is
and
it to
see
CC
all of it.
material. I think it is important. So to closed caption the videos, and with websites such as YouTube, it's pretty easy to do that now. They kind of have a starting point, automatic transcriptions built in that you can just edit. So I've done it with videos, and it just takes maybe 10-15 minutes.
Okay. Joan, Jared, thank you very much. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you everyone for joining. I'd like to remind everyone that there is a survey at the end. and please take that if you have time. Also, we will be sending you a recording of this webinar, and we will also be sending a certificate of attendance and the slides. And Jared and Joan have written a blog post, which we'll be putting out on our In Focus blog in a couple of days. Don't forget, there are 2 more sessions in this series, and we'd love to have you back, and please invite your friends. The second session will be next Wednesday, March the 25th at 9 a.m. Boston time and 5 p.m. Boston time. And we're calling that one Building a Supportive Learning Environment. Meanwhile, don't forget the recording will be coming your way. You can go back and watch. And I did notice in the chat, a couple of you mentioned, don't focus on the specific activities, focus on the principles and the techniques. I think that's great advice. Some of you teach young learners, some teach university students, but the principles about engaging learners in meaningful learning activities apply across all age groups. So we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, 9 a.m. Boston time and 5 p.m. Boston time for Making Your Screen Come Alive just more tips and techniques for online teaching. I have 9 here. Well, you have an invitation. Check the invitation and make sure it gets into your Outlook. And thank you very much. Yes, it's 8 a.m. I just got a note saying 8 a.m. Boston time next Wednesday and 5 p.m. Boston time next Wednesday. So thanks for joining, and